Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Melleny. If you'd like to get to know me a little better, all my social media links are linked down below. And if you want to be the first to know kind of what's happening, how I'm doing with my reading, rather follow me on my Instagram. I have changed the vlogging style that I've been using, where instead of posting weekly or bi-weekly, I'm gonna be posting monthly instead. I do have some vlogs to catch up on, and that's all for like various reasons, like my computer not working or me just not being sure what to do with this channel and stuff like that. But I've decided I'm gonna come back. I want to rejoin the YouTube, okay? I want to be a booktuber once more, and I want to have more than one platform of sharing, because here I get to share a little bit more intimately. You know, you get to see the vlogs of me living my life and everything. So I think without further ado, let's jump into my July potentials. I highly recommend grabbing yourself a beverage of choice, because I feel like it might just be a long one. So I think the best thing to do is to actually start with the books that I'm currently in the middle of or about to start, like the things that I'm reading immediately kind of thing, before we jump into the ones that I've read already, because it's already the 7th of July, and the ones that I plan on reading for the rest of the month. I am currently in the middle of Babel. I've been so excited to read this for so long, not only because I love R.F. Kuang, but this is a linguistics, like undergrad's dream of a book. It is fantastic if you study languages, if you study linguistics, if you just like historical fiction kind of books. This is it. The way I have been marketing it, or have been like saying how to pick it up, is if you read The Secret History and you loved it, you should pick it up. If you read The Secret History and you want something more like it, but a little bit better, pick this up. If you hated The Secret History, pick this up, because I promise you, you will love it. I did not like The Secret History, and I am loving this, and the pacing is always the same. It's written in the same reflective style, and I'm halfway through. I didn't even make it halfway through The Secret History, so highly recommending this. This comes out in South Africa in October, but I think around the world it's the last week of August and the first week of September, so please do pick it up if you can. The next book that I have here is The Gilded Ones by Namina Fauna. This is obviously a very popular YA fantasy book. I don't know too much about it, but I think the back says enough, which is, are we girls or are we demons? And I'm just excited. I am doing a buddy read for this at the moment with a whole bunch of South African readers, and well, I don't even think they're just South African. I think they're just people who are reading the book, and I am behind, but that's okay. I'm excited. This is one that I've been wanting to pick up for a while now, and I finally have the opportunity to do so, and I figured, why not? The second book is coming out, I think, or is out at this point in time. If not, I'll put the book and the release date on the screen for the second one. This is a proof copy that I got from a friend of mine who works for Penguin, and a huge shout out to Lori for sending this to me, or giving this to me. I can't remember the context in which I got it, but she said I could keep it, and this is the limited edition one, and it's just, I'm excited, okay? The next book that I am also buddy reading is Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. If you don't know, I have read every single time I've read the series, I've read up until Queen of Shadows, and I've just stopped there because I am just not ready for the end. But I'm hoping this read-along, which is hosted by Rozanne and Avvaire, I think that's how you say it, shop, and I'll have those Instagrams linked down below if you're interested in checking them out. They're currently doing a read-along for Throne of Glass, as well as Crown of Midnight, which will be next. But I haven't been doing much in regards to reading this. In fact, I haven't even started. There's no bookmark or anything in it, but I am hoping to get it started on it today. This is probably one of my favorite books from 2015. It's a book that I think I continuously enjoy. The rating stays the same. It is not the best, but it is still so good, and I really love Sarah J Maas. This is where the love started. And the other book that I'm in the middle of is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is a highly recommended book by Peruse Project, or Reagan. I'll have her also linked somewhere. She's got countless videos recommending this, and I am about just over halfway through in this book. I do plan on finishing it quite soon. I don't know what to tell you. I'm also writing my honors thesis on this book and Dune, which we'll see in my TBR a bit later. This book is being interesting to read, but more of those thoughts in my actual reading vlog, which is up in the info cards if you're interested. But I figured, you know what, it was high time I picked this up, and what better way than to make it the topic of your thesis. Now, moving on to the books that were actually on my June potentials, but I've just shifted across over onto July. The first one is House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. I have finished reading this, as you can see by the sticky tabs, and I think the sticky tabs can also tell you how much I enjoyed it. But this has been on my radar for so long. I think since last year. It is a horror-esque novel. Descriptions in here will have you cringing and going, what? If you loved The Wilder Girls, I think by Rory Powers, I did not read The Wilder Girls, but I think it's in the same vein as that. And I mean, this cover is just to die for. The next book I have on here is The Flat Chair by Beth O'Leary, and I have been wanting to read The Flat Chair for the longest time, and it follows two characters, Tiffy and Leon, who share a bed, but they've also never met. And that for me is a great, cool premise that has me like, I need to read this. So my plan is to kind of read this in one sitting. I don't know which one is the best way to use it, but I really do want to read it. It sounds incredible, and I've read other Beth O'Leary's, but I still think that based on the general consensus around her books, this is her best one. And I want to also read The No-Show, which recently came out. As mentioned, you will be seeing Dune. I'm hoping to read this in completion this month. In fact, I think I'm going to be picking it up after I finish the 5th season. I will be rereading both of those books in August, but this is my initial reading. This is me getting used to the story, understanding what's happening, so that I don't go in blind when I do go and look for things to help my thesis out. So I will be comparing both of these two books, and I don't know, I've only ever read Dune up until like page 68 or 65 or something like that. So I'm interested to see how I feel about it completely. I have watched the movie, so I do think that will help me a little bit with placement and imagery, because sometimes I find that with sci-fi, or especially with Dune, I struggle to see the characters and what they look like. And I think the movie, even though I think the descriptions aren't entirely accurate, it's accurate enough to give me a more in-depth understanding and to allow me to place characters a bit better. So that's the plan with this. Talking about big books that I'm nervous but excited about, I have House of Sky and Breath on this TBR. My plan is not necessarily to finish this book this month, but to rather just get going on it, because I have just recently read Crescent City, and I don't want to wait too long that it gets to the point where I have to reread House of Earth and Blood. Like, that just isn't it for me. So I do want to jump into this. I recently finished House of Earth and Blood. These are such long titles, goodness. And I'm trying not to get spoiled for House of Sky and Breath. So the best thing to do is to actually just read it. I can't tell you too much about this, except that I did like House of Earth and Blood, but I didn't love it. I think it wasn't her strongest first book in a series, but I do think that it leaves enough room for me to love this book, the sequel. I gave House of Earth and Blood 4 stars, so I'm hoping that this comes up at like a 4.5 to 5 star. That is my hope and dreams. The next book I have on here is The Book Eaters by Sunyi Dean, and I don't know what this is about beyond that this here totally caught my attention. It says, once there was a mother who fed on stories and would do anything to survive. And this book is a really short fantasy, and I figured, you know what, I have so many big books on my TBR, I need a little bit of a shorter fantasy, and this one comes in at around just under 300 pages actually. So I'm hoping to maybe I can read this in a day as well. A lot of these books are like, can I read this in a day or not kind of books, you know what I mean? I'm trying to utilize the weekends that I have basically to myself at the moment. The next book I have is Unravel the Dust by Elizabeth Lim. I recently read Spin the Dawn, and I really liked it. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it, and I was like, you know what, I like it enough, I do want to read the sequel. So I figured, you know what, why not start finishing series and start reading them like a month after each other, the books. Because 1, it's a great way to get books on my TBR. 2, it's a great way to get through series. And 3, I tend to enjoy and remember the books a lot easier. And that way I know what to get rid of on my shelves and what to keep. Especially if I read like the first 2 books in series and I'm like, actually, you're trash. But this is not trash. This is really great. And these covers remain one of my favorite covers of all time. I'm so excited to read this, and I don't know, I just feel like Elizabeth Lim has gotten a lot of hype recently for her 6 Crimson Cranes, and I want to read that. But I think these 2 are set in the same world or in the same universe, and I feel like reading the prequel or like the initial series is going to help me a lot when I read the other one. Next, I have an Afrikaans book on my TBR. A couple of years ago, I introduced something called Local is Lekker to my my brand, and I kind of deviated away from that just because, I don't know, Afrikaans books just haven't been calling my name recently, and 1, that's not good. 2, I really want to support local once again and do the best thing that I can, which is to read and review those books so that people know about them. And one of those books is Freyracuse Act Relief, which is a fake dating, I want to say, scenario, and it just sounded so cute, so great, and this cover is just gorgeous. So I figured, you know what, why not pick it up this month? It is a YA novel. I think it might just be very easy to read, so why not pick it up? I am also currently in the middle of a Shadow Me reread, and therefore I am on Ignite Me by Tahira Mafi. I will say that the series as a reread has been a little bit underwhelming. I think I've given them all 1 star less than I initially gave them, but I'm excited for Ignite Me. Ignite Me was my favorite out of the first trilogy, so I'm excited to read this because I also need to continue the second trilogy because I just haven't done that yet. So this will give me the opportunity to, 1, remember everything, and then 2, get on and get the second and third book in the second trilogy. The next book I have on here is Electra by Jennifer Saint. I do have Ariadne on my shelf, but I'm currently lending it to my boyfriend's mom, so she has it in her possession. But I will be buddy reading this with Rozanne, and I'm excited because Electra is one of my favorite myths. Even though I didn't know it was a myth, I used to watch that movie. I don't know if you remember the movie that came out, but I love that movie, and I think based on what I can remember, it does follow the myth of Electra and the House of Atreus, I think is how you say it. So I'm excited to pick this one up because violence seems to follow this family, and I'm just ready. And based on the feedback from this book itself, it's going to be a good ride. And then as mentioned, I do have Crown of Midnight on my TBR because of the read-along that is happening on Instagram at the moment. Once again, we'll have that all linked down below. I don't need to say much more than that. And then the last physical book, I do have some ebooks that I want to get to, but I don't know how I will get to them based on how many books are on my physical TBR. But the book that I do plan on reading this month, like 100%, is Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter. I've listened to the audiobook of this, and I really loved it, and I do want to reread it so that I can watch the show and then get to the second book, because I didn't know Girl Forgotten was the second or the sequel to this, and I'm just so excited. I didn't think it would come out so soon, but I'm excited. I really like this. I gave it, I think, 4 or 5 stars as a thriller read, and I just loved it, and I am excited to just dive in. It is a thicker book, but I think I will power through it because it's one of those books that just things just keep happening and you just can't stop reading. And then that is what happened when I was listening to the audiobook. Like, I just could not stop listening to it because it was so gosh darn good. And those are all the books that are on my TBR for this month. I know it was quite a lot, I realize, but I am trying to optimize reading. These are just potential books. Whatever I don't read this month, I'm just gonna move on to the following month. In August, I will then pick these up again. Some of these, obviously, I'm trying to read quicker because they've been sent to me by publishing houses themselves, and I have obviously got some requirements to meet with them. But the books that are like my personal things, I'm not too concerned about them. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've A, read any of these books, or B, would love to read any of these books, because honestly, I'm excited. If you didn't like any of these books, please tell me, and please tell me why without spoilers, because I need to know if it's worth prioritizing them over others or anything like that, because I just kind of pick books up as I feel like it. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video.